The night started like any other in the small town of Ashwood, a quiet place tucked deep into the woods of Pennsylvania. The streets were lined with old houses that seemed to whisper stories through their cracked shutters and sagging porches. I never thought that what happened that night would stay with me forever, haunting me each time I closed my eyes. My name is Ethan Miller. I was 23 back then, fresh out of college, and trying to figure out what to do with my life. My best friend, Jacob Harris, had invited me and a few others to spend the weekend at his family's cabin just outside of town. Jacob had always been the adventurous one, the kind of guy who believed there was nothing more exciting than pushing boundaries. With him, nights were never dull. That Friday night, it was me, Jacob, his girlfriend Emily, and my cousin Sarah. We had all grown up together, and there was comfort in the familiarity of our group. The cabin was old but charming. It sat at the edge of a dense forest, with tall pines surrounding it like sentinels. The place had a fireplace, creaky wooden floors, and windows that seemed too small to let in enough light during the day. At night, though, the shadows seemed endless. The first few hours were filled with laughter. We played card games, roasted marshmallows outside, and shared old stories from high school. Emily teased Jacob about the time he tried to impress her with a backflip and landed face first in the mud. Sarah told us about a local legend she had read online, the story of the Ashwood Phantom, a figure said to appear only at night in the forest near the cabin. We laughed it off, of course. After all, urban legends were made to scare kids, not adults. But when the fire started to die down and the forest grew silent, something changed. It began with the sound. At first, I thought it was just the wind pushing against the trees, but this was different. It was a low, humming noise, almost like chanting, carrying through the trees. Emily froze, her marshmallow slipping off the stick and dropping into the ashes. "Do you guys hear that?" she asked, her voice just above a whisper. Jacob chuckled nervously. "Probably some kids messing around in the woods. This place is popular for campfire dares, you know." But Sarah shook her head. "No, it's too rhythmic. It sounds organized." The sound grew louder, then stopped altogether, as if whoever, or whatever, was making it knew we were listening. An uneasy silence followed, heavy and pressing, like the forest was holding its breath. That's when Emily suggested we head inside. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere felt different. The walls seemed to close in tighter, the flicker of the lantern stretching shadows across the wooden beams like dark fingers. I tried to shake off the unease, but I couldn't ignore the gnawing feeling that we weren't alone. Jacob tried to lighten the mood. He poured drinks, joked about horror movies, and insisted we play truth or dare like we used to when we were younger. For a while, it worked. We laughed, shared secrets, and dared each other to do silly things. But then came the dare that changed everything. Sarah dared Jacob to step outside alone and walk to the edge of the woods without a flashlight. "You're not scared, are you?" she teased. Jacob smirked. "Please, I'll be back before you even finish counting." He grabbed his jacket and stepped outside into the darkness. We waited. At first, I thought I heard him crunching through the leaves, but the sound faded too quickly. A minute passed, then two. Sarah laughed nervously. "Maybe he's trying to freak us out." But then came the scream. It was sharp, raw, and filled with a terror I had never heard in Jacob's voice before. Emily shot to her feet, her eyes wide with panic. "Jacob," she cried, bolting toward the door. I grabbed her arm. "Wait, we don't know what's out there." But she shook free and ran into the night. Sarah and I exchanged terrified glances before following her. The forest was darker than I'd ever seen. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds, and the trees blocked out what little light there was. We called Jacob's name, but only the echoes of our own voices answered us. Then, suddenly, Emily stumbled onto the ground, gasping. She had found Jacob's jacket lying in the dirt, torn at the sleeve. But Jacob was nowhere to be seen. We huddled close together, fear coursing through us. That's when the chanting started again. Louder this time, closer. And then, the shadows moved. At first, I thought it was just my eyes adjusting to the dark, but no, there were figures. Tall, faceless shapes gliding between the trees, surrounding us. The air grew icy, and every instinct screamed at me to run. "Back to the cabin," I shouted. We sprinted through the underbrush, branches clawing at our arms, the chanting growing louder, almost deafening. By the time we burst through the cabin door and slammed it shut, our lungs were burning. But the night wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because what we saw next, inside the safety of that cabin, was far worse than what had been waiting in the woods.